Hey guys, I'm George Lambert with Mountain Music and Mules. Follow along with me as I work with a litter of hound pups that are on their way to becoming possible bear hounds, raccoon hounds, coyote hounds, cat hounds. Whatever they end up pursuing really isn't that big of a deal right now. Now let me be clear, you definitely do not have to do everything that I'm doing in this video to get a pack of dogs together that will consistently tree bear. And I'll go more into that towards the end of the video. Now in this video I'm working with 3 separate litters of pups ranging from around 3 months old to basically around 4 months old at the time of this video. Now if you've watched any of my previous videos then you're well aware that my hounds are far from perfect. And honestly they look a lot better on video than they actually are. But overall they do handle decent. And because from time to time I hunt off horses or mules, they have to handle decent. For me and the terrain I hunt, I need the dogs to be as lead free as possible. There is times and scenarios when, yes, I do use lead straps. And you'll see in my videos, I keep lead straps on me at all times, or try to. But I have got to have that ability to be able to call them off, in my case a bear, if the need arises. So right now, here in Virginia, bear season is out. It's over, and the bear are laid up tight anyway. These pups, like I was saying, they're between 3 and 4 months old. I need to get them out and get them little rascals started using their nose. Now, a lot of these things that I'm getting ready to bring up, I'm sure a lot of you guys that deal with pups and mess with pups all the time, it may be a little bit different. Basically, what I'm saying is there is a dozen different ways, probably more than a dozen, but there's a pile of different ways to set pups up for, say, the real world, meaning hunting. Here is a few things I do from day one. And when I say day one, I'm meaning once they are weaned up, kenneled separate, away from their mom. So one thing that I do basically at every feeding period, which with really young pups, it's usually twice a day. 1 can, or depending on how many pups is in there, 1 handful, 1 can of kibble is literally just tossed out in their pen. And them young pups typically will start using their nose as a tool to find that kibble. Now, before I get too far ahead of myself, another thing that I do all the time, and I do this without, it's just become second nature. Me, Easton, when he feeds, both of us, we do the same thing. I don't tiptoe around these pups. And actually, saying that, I actually add to. Their pans get beat together when it's feeding time. Just normal loud noises are incorporated into the feeding time, and just in general, usually when I'm around their pen. And basically that takes the edge off when you're eventually ready to introduce them to, say, gunfire. And it definitely helps with the possibility of having gun shyness in the pup's future. It don't always cure it, and you might have to still work through some things, but it definitely, in my opinion, helps. So to sum that up, these pups get messed with every single day. And when I say messed with, that doesn't always mean I'm going to spend 3 hours with each pup. It could mean just a couple minutes of me chucking the feed out in their pen, normal routine of the loud noises, of course me trying to give each one a pat on the head, at least speak to it, some kind of interaction with each pup every single day. Now, as I was saying, these pups are 3 to 4 months old, plenty old enough to start running scent, and I'm getting ready to go over just a few simple ways to start pups out, and it's really easy to get these pups started being interested and running a scent trail. So at this stage, I'm not worried about tapping into prey drive or anything too wild or crazy. I just want these pups getting interested in scent, hopefully following a scent trail, and using their noses. And the way that I start working with a young pup is using their tummy. They've got just a couple things on their mind, and one of the big things is food. And I've got a little bit advantage on maybe some of you guys because I have multiple pups, which actually creates possible competition. So every evening, after I'm done the normal feeding routine, I've got in the habit, I snatch up, say, 1 can of dog food, drop it into a bucket of water, maybe filled 2 to 3 gallons full, and that food sets in that water overnight. So after setting all night, once you stir it up a bit, you've basically got 2, 3, 4 gallons of liquid scent. So these pups at this 3 and 4 month age, I'm typically feeding once a day. I've got them in with the normal feeding routine of my normal hounds. And like a good healthy pup should, when feeding time rolls around, they are ready to eat. Food is a top priority. So now at this stage, these pups are rarely getting fed in the pen anymore. They're primarily getting fed probably 4 to 6 days a week. They're getting fed in the woods at the end of a scent trail. And here's how I set this up. So to start with, I'm using a side-by-side in my instance, but you can use a side by side. You can use an ATV with a rack. You can use a truck. Whatever you would typically load your dogs on. Now, and let me make this clear. At the end, I'll start slacking off on this as the time goes. But from day one, I stick a handful of kibble up inside. In my case, it's just a wire cage on the back of the side by side. I just basically toss a handful of kibble in there. Then start loading the pups. The first time they'll probably be a little bit nervous, but like I said before, a lot of times food is a priority. So once their nose tells them that there's food, kibble, something around, it'll pique their interest. When they're interested in something, it naturally helps take that fear, nervousness, scaredness away. And trust me, usually after a couple days of loading them like that, consistent with the kibble in the back of the bed, typically after a couple days, they're actually trying to jump into the back of that side-by-side or vehicle, truck, whatever you're using. So I get the pups loaded up and say this is their first time. They might bark. They might be a little bit high-strung. It's no big deal. One of the tricks that I found with pups is when if you call barking in the truck a problem, and I might be getting a little sidetracked here, but if you're calling barking in the truck a problem, pick a certain time to fix that or work with that. For me, now is not the time. I'm wanting these pups to get used to riding, and I want it to be a positive experience. Basically, don't try to win the war all at one time. Pick and choose your battles. The first couple times, I get to where I want to lay a scent trail. Basically, park the side-by-side, get my bucket full of liquid dog food or scent, whichever way you want to look at it. And all the while, they're watching me. You can basically literally use anything. For instance, in this video, I'm actually using a stick I broke right off a tree. Using baler twine, I tied a thing of, I believe it's an old pair of pajamas or something, onto the end of that stick. Just something to soak up that scent, or water, whatever way you want to word it. You'll soak up that scent, and that is the easiest way to lay out a drag. So dipping that drag into that bucket of scent, or water, or liquid dog food, let's just call it scent. So dipping that drag into that bucket full of scent, I let it drag, let it drip. I want plenty of scent for these pups here at first. Usually every 10 yards or so, I'm re-dipping, getting plenty, like I say, I'm laying out plenty of scent for these young pups. So for the first couple times, I'm probably going to lay this scent trail 75 yards, 100 yards, not really long. I want it to be hot, fresh, and really keep their interest, not let them get too sidetracked. And at the end of that trail, I'm leaving a normal pan of dog food that they're used to. Now, although some litters of pups will, you can't expect all the pups to jump right off, in my case, the side-by-side. You can't expect every pup to jump off the side-by-side, run that track, find that food from day one. Usually the first couple times you do this, you've got to just kind of walk along with them. Some of them will catch on pretty quickly, but it's no big deal if they don't. Walk along with them. After a few consecutive days, usually you'll see it start to click with each pup. So the first couple times, I might be walking along with them or just kind of bringing them along towards walking on the scent trail, walking towards the food. Usually when I get close to the food, I'm not going to necessarily find the food for them. I might hang around within 10, 15 yards and let them themselves find the food and key in on that scent source. So a few days of that, they're getting consistent. They're following the scent. They're finding the food consistently. It's time to start making tracks longer, possibly older. Add a few obstacles here and there, meaning logs, ditches, creeks. You've just got to stay in tune with these pups. Don't rush it. It's no hurry or anything. Basically, just add more and more as they progress. So now the pups are taking the track as soon as I let them out of the cage. And now is where I really enjoyed it. It starts to get fun. You start to get to see the pups progress and change. And different days you see different pups excel. One day one pup might do really good. And the next day, the one that didn't do very good the day before, he might be your leader of the pack, if you want to call it that. So I'll start changing it up. I might do 500-600 yard tracks one day. Other days I might be in a hurry. I might do another 100-yard track. Maybe I only have time to not even lay a track, just set food in general out and drop the pups within 100 yards and let them find it just by following a scent cone. I know in a lot of litter of pups that I've started in the past, a lot of times around this stage, you'll notice they'll actually start barking what I call it on track. A lot of that right now, they're barking just from pure excitement. That scent's getting fresher as they move. They're trying to run, and you'll start hearing barks coming out here and there. Now, before I get too far ahead, let me back up a minute and say the first few times that I start doing maybe a little bit longer tracks or anything like that, I like to set them up for success. I don't want them to just 100% lose the scent. And yes, it's going to happen at times, but I don't want them to 100% lose the scent and have to come all the way back to me. I want to give them the best possible chance to find the scent and take it on their own without me. And here's how I do that. Laying the scent trail down, maybe going parallel to like a fence or some kind of obstacle. If you've got a fence that runs 100, 200 yards, you lay that scent trail parallel with that fence right beside it. You'll basically keep them funneled down and tuned in to the actual scent trail. When you're ready to do, say, maybe a obstacle crossing, say a ditch or a creek crossing, maybe especially a creek crossing, I've learned that it definitely helps at first. Leave plenty of scent right at the crossing and leave a lot of scent on the opposite side to entice them pups across whatever obstacle it may be. Then once they get across, I like to leave a good scent trail that's pretty obvious away from that obstacle. So now the pups, they're running the tracks, they're finishing out the tracks, some of their genetics is kicking in, they're barking on track here and there, and they're finding the end goal, they're finding the feed. So I'll personally be following along behind them, let them eat most of the feed. I'm gonna grab up their bucket, their pail, whatever I've laid there, and they're just naturally gonna follow me back towards the side by side. And I've already preset it up that there is a handful of kibble tossed in the back of the side by side again. And after a couple consistent days of doing that, and you get back there and their nose is telling them that there's another possible food source up there in the back of the side by side, you'll notice they'll probably start trying to load themselves. So as I was saying before, you definitely do not have to do these things to make a pack of bear dogs. But I will say, it is an absolute blast to watch these pups start, progress, watch them change, and you learn how they learn. You can learn a lot from the pups. And while there's going to be plenty of things in the future that's going to pop up, if you do this long enough, you can start to understand what you're going to be working with in the future. The advantages of working with pups in a somewhat controlled environment, unlike most hunting scenarios, in a controlled environment, you know where that scent was laid at, you know how long ago it was. When the pups make a lose, you know what they need to do to correct it and refine that scent trail. Basically, you know how that track was laid and you know what that pup needs to do to find the end goal. And after a while, if you end up wanting to start working with the prey drive side of these pups, you can start incorporating an old hide. Depending on your rules and regulations, trapping might be an option. Roadkill can be great. There is all kinds of things that you can do to work with a young pup. Basically, any way that you can figure out your own version of doing a mock hunt is unbelievable on how it sets these pups up for that first day when you actually take them on a real hunt. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not a miracle cure. It does not guarantee that every pup is going to be a world-class, game-catching, once-in-a-lifetime hound dog that's going to be worth thousands of dollars. You're just basically building a foundation that gets these pups ready for what I'd say the real world. And you're getting the small things out of the way, as far as loading, riding, getting them on their way to be lead-free, teaching them to come when called, making them wood-wise, getting them used to water. Basically, it sets you up to eventually get every available ability out of your pup. And hopefully with a lot more work and a little luck, you'll have a young dog that starts and handles great. This is the first few times that I've taken them out. I pick and choose my battles, if you want to say that. Basically, I'll give in to some stuff to focus on other stuff. Work on one problem at a time, if that makes sense. One day I'll come up here just working on this, and then we'll progress to that. But today, we're all about getting them to run a scent track. And they're starting to do better. Like I said, I've had them out 3 or 4 times. So, we'll see how it goes. We're going to start right here. So, as I was saying, I've worked with these a few times on trailing. I don't know, probably a week or so.
and they're starting to really get the hang of it. So today I'm gonna work on making a scent trail out around, go about 150, 200 yards, go across the creek, see how they handle that. Probably gonna be like a 400 or 500 yard track with their food at the end. We'll see how it goes. Alright, I'm gonna start the track here, just dipping it in this broth. This is basically dog food. I set in water for a day, all night last night basically, and I just do that daily. And my wife made a roast last night, so the broth off that roast went in the water pan, just as an added scent, enticer or whatever you want to call it. And this is real simple. Got literally a pair of old shirt or something, a pair of pajamas, and just dip it and make a scent trail. And as I go, you know, the longer, the better they get at this, the less scent they'll get, and the older the scent will get.
You know that's a brand spanking new shirt, right?
Where? Putting plenty of scent here where I cross the creek. Plenty of scent across the creek. And we'll just see how they do. How they do, we're going under a log, putting plenty of scent. You can come on.
Life of being in the mountains. I thought you said we was going 500, not about 3,000.
There you go. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna leave that bucket kind of right there, leaning over, and we'll see how they do. We gotta hurry up. All right, so it's threw them off here at the creek. I mean, he's just caught up to them. All right, stay back and let them work it out. Oh, they figured it out. We gotta go get them going to catch back up. Good job, boys and girls. Good job, guys. Good job, guys. Here, let me give y'all a little bit of room here. So, anyway, they're progressing. They're getting better and better. All right, got the pups loaded up and headed back to the kennel.
So guys, leave me a comment below. Do y'all do any of this foundation training? Or do you just wait and work it out while you're hunting? I'll be honest, from time to time I get, say, a year-old pup that has zero foundation training in it, and we always figure out how to make it work. Tell me what you guys do. Say, give me a thumbs up or a comment if I should do another video in maybe a pup series. I'm at the stage with these pups where I'm ready to start working on them, baying or treeing. Man, thank y'all guys for watching this. It sure does help me be able to continue to do what I'm doing. Don't forget to go to mountainmusicandmules.com. All kinds of merch there. all them little things like that, man, it sure does help. And I can't say how much I appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the little like button, hit the subscribe, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.